Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Vanessa Dunn, Guyton, and I am the proud founder and executive director of Hush No More. Hush No More supports survivors when they're ready to come forward to share their story, to get resources, or just to have somebody to listen to. So tonight we are going to talk to a champion that has overcame a lot. His name is Obbie West, and we're going to talk about porn addiction, pornography, how it affects many families, a lot of people, a lot of children. We are going to talk about a topic that is taboo, that happens to a lot of individuals, right? Starting off in childhood for most people. So I want to just bring in somebody that has their own perspective on it so we can have a conversation. And what's special about Obbie West is he is actually a poet as well. So he's going to start off by giving us a piece that he has written specifically for this topic, and I'm excited to bring him on. Welcome, Obbie West. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. We ready?
We are ready for you to
Okay,
go at it.
let's do it. As men, we pump iron to build our bodies, large and small buildings. Statue like a stack of bricks, pecs like twin pyramids. I can give a tutorial on how to build pectorials, biceps bulging, hard as cedar blocks, backs broad as a U-Haul, seemingly built to haul burden, strong as an ox. So if you ever catch us in a wrestling match with a grizzly, don't help us, help the bear. But weak as wet tissue when it comes to wrestling resistance. We couldn't tackle temptation with four linebackers and two safeties. Went home with our own lowest lane. We claimed we're the cape. Sexual desires be like kryptonite to a Superman. From preachers to politicians, that P word is like music to our penises. We'll sing lies to our wives, risk our employment. Blue collar workers couldn't even collar fix. Construction guys can erect skyscrapers, but when erect, can't build a wall thick enough to ward off their flesh. Lust is the wrecking ball that ruins destruction in most households. It's that problem that we don't see in the family picture. It's the ruined hope for the hopeless romantics. And if you think you need to be more cautious of our coworker, you couldn't be closer to wrong. The biggest culprit is a little closer to home. Porn is your biggest opponent. We don't even have to leave the house. We bring the home wrecker home with her. We sneak her in through laptops and cell phone signals. She sticks us up and it, boom, jacks off our resistance. So a few soft nights had you thinking he was impotent. The truth is, just enter porn. So now I'm too tired to enter you. They call the bathroom a man's throne because that's what we play with our scepter. We'll shoot semen in seconds and then force you to accept sexless nights. Lust is that leash that we wear daily like neckties. It's been part of our wardrobe since we found the porn tapes in the top drawer. No, these aren't generational curses. We weren't born overly horny with porn addictions. We weren't born with this thing in our bloodstream. The addiction is the addiction is perpetuated through poorly hidden paraphernalia that falls into the palms of developing children, now developing adulterers, in some cases developing sex offenders, developing divorce dates decades before the I do's are even documented. And nowadays, we're cultivating seeds that's being raised in a hypersexual society that forces them to explore it before even searching for it. The cliche says sex sells. The revision should say sex sells souls. Um, Again, thank you for having me. And just to reiterate what Dr. Dunn Guyton said, yes, my name is Obbie West. I'm a spoken word artist with a concentration on advocacy. And this topic is one that's very near and dear to my heart. So I look forward to holding the conversation.
I love it. Thank you. You had me captured every time you speak and you perform. I'm just always in awe because you speak poetry from a very realistic place. And I think that a lot of people can relate to what you just talked about and on your
Yeah.
journey. So I'm excited and honored that you would even come on and talk about such a serious topic that is personal to a lot of people. I'm real
Absolutely.
big on let's talk about it because
Right.
it's affecting a lot of homes, a lot of families. Statistically, we're at 47% of all families deal with some type of pornography problem in their home.
It's a
That's a
lot.
lot of households,
It's
right?
a
That's
lot.
a lot of
It's enough
households.
to have.
So for you, what was your journey as it related to pornography?
There was a period of time to where, well, if I start from the beginning, I remember being a little boy and I was probably about um, maybe about 10 or 11. And there was a guy who lived in an apartment behind me. And you know how sometimes you have older guys that take little kids under their wings and just hang out with them. And whenever I would go to this guy's apartment just to hang out, he would have these tapes. So that was my introduction to these tapes. And then time went by, and I would find them in different places and sneak and watch them. And then as I got older, there was a point in time where I was absolutely addicted to it. It consumed a lot of my time, and there was some second and third effects associated with that addiction.
So you started that early. Did your
Yeah,
did your mom have a clue? Did she know?
no, I don't. If she did, she didn't say anything, which isn't like my mother. She would have said something. So, to my knowledge, I'm pretty certain she didn't know.
Mhm. And the reason why I ask you that is because a lot of children watch pornography and their parents don't. So
Hmm.
parents are like, not my child, it's not happening in my house. But what they don't realize is that now they have the internet in their cell phone. So a lot of
Hmm.
kids have cell phones and they have access to free porn. So it's a lot harder than it was when we were growing up, where you had to find
A
tape.
lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
It's a lot.
And we
I'm
and we
sorry.
couldn't get tapes. Right? As a kid, you couldn't go buy a tape. You
Right.
had to be in an area where tapes were available. And not only that, you had to go to a TV, stick it in the TV, press play, take the risk of somebody walking in while it was going on. So it was a lot of logistics going on within this process. Nowadays, it's just simply a matter of before they go to bed, just going to a website. So if kids were successfully doing this without being caught back then, I would venture to say that number has multiplied significantly with the evolution of these cellular devices.
Yeah. And on average, 12 years old. So you started below the average number. So I think it's important that we have these conversations with our children very early on and have the conversations. Like, it is important because they're
Right.
starting earlier. They get cell
Right.
phones, right?
Hmm.
So, and I see that just from your story. And in my house, we only had one VCR. So that was in the living room. So you definitely had to sneak in order to be able to watch
Right.
porn in my house. And my
Right.
mom probably would have had a fit because she a minister. So she,
Right.
but it's
Yep.
girls and boys, right? This is
You
so
and
a
the TV
man
out the
and
house.
woman problem. Say that
Yeah.
again.
I said she would have threw you and the TV out the house.
Oh yeah, we'd have been in church. She'd have been praying for us. Like,
Hmm.
the whole church would have known that this was a
Right.
problem in our household.
Yeah. And
So I
that's a
wanted.
very I'm sorry, that's a very valid point you brought up. That poem, I wrote that poem from my perspective, so it addressed me personally. So it talks about men, but the problem isn't at all exclusive to men. The poem was just written from that perspective because it was personal, it was addressing me. So that's a great point. It's not just a men's problem.
Mhm. It's a male and woman problem, and
Hmm.
women probably wouldn't want to talk about it as much as men would. Like, I had men that contacted me and said, "Hey, I've had this problem, or I currently have this problem," but no women said anything to me. Right? No women said, "I'm having that problem too. I'm gonna watch your show." They wouldn't talk about it from that perspective.
Right.
For you, how did you identify that pornography was a problem for you?
I recognized it once it became absolutely irresistible. Right? It was like I don't know if you've ever had this experience before, but it's pretty common. You may have where you have to use the restroom, and the closer you get to the restroom, the harder it is to hold it. It's like your body know that you're getting closer to the restroom, and it becomes harder and harder to hold it. So there's an involuntary reaction that you have from getting closer to the restroom. My body would have that involuntary reaction whenever I would get on the computer. It's like my body would know, oh, he's on the computer, it's going to happen. And I would start to develop this absolute desire to, no matter what I'm doing, divert from that and go to a website. So when it became absolutely irresistible, and it's like my body looked at a computer as the source of porn, and I can just feel a level of excitement anytime I touch the keyboard because that's what my mind was conditioned to do on a computer. That's when I recognized it was an addiction. And then in addition to that, it was kind of one of those things to where it became like part of my daily diet. It felt like something that I had to do at least once a day. Like if you had a checklist of something you do every day, you wake up in the morning and maybe you pray and then you take vitamins. Once you take vitamins, you just have a list of things that are part of your everyday. That was on that list. And so that's when I recognized that it was a problem. And then after I recognized it was a problem, the assessment went a little deeper. I had to figure out, is this addiction to masturbating, or is the addiction to pornography? I had to figure that out because in order for me to fix it, I got to know which one is the root versus which one is the the byproduct. So I had to actually sit back and think, well, which is the byproduct? Which is the secondary result? And whatever that is, then the other one is what the addiction is. Because I'm drawn to the primary thing, and that primary thing is making me do the second thing. And that's what I learned. The addiction was to go see porn. And then as a result of seeing it, the byproduct was the masturbation. And if it was the other way around, where I just always felt the need to masturbate and I used porn to help me do it, then the masturbation would have been the addiction. And I had to figure out which one was the addiction so I can know how to address it.
How long did you go without ever just having to watch porn? Like, did you have to do it every day, or was there a period that you could skip a day or two, or was it a daily thing for
During that time frame, no, it was yeah, it was absolute. It was
you?
yeah. If I woke up that day, it was gonna happen that day. Yeah.
Did you do it at work?
No, I never done it at work.
Okay.
Just the risk associated. I love my money too much, right?
Because people do it at work. Like I have
But
met
I've done it driving,
driving. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Which is probably riskier than being at work. You can get caught at work. You can die driving. You know what I mean? Um, so I've done it driving, headed somewhere, and maybe where I was going was didn't have a space that was going to allow for it, and where I came from probably didn't. So this is my only alone time type thing. I've done it driving.
Yeah, that's definitely dangerous.
Yeah,
'Cause that was where your attention was. But I've
absolutely.
met people at work that lost their career because of pornography. Will use it on the government computer. And that's a serious addiction when you have to do it at work, you do it on somebody else's computer, you can't even control what computer you're on,
Right,
and to lose your entire career.
right,
So it's a serious problem that people really do deal with, and we have to take it more serious in our society, I believe, and
right,
not to point the finger. Like
right.
it is a serious addiction, it's a serious problem, and people have lost marriages and families. When I was looking at statistics, 300% of infidelity has porn that's involved. That's a lot.
Right,
People don't even put the two together,
right.
but that is a lot. How do you think people view, and maybe even you, view porn as it relates to a real human being? How do you correlate the two?
I think what happens, and I think this is one of the hazards associated with it, is it desensitizes you to human relations because in most cases, it's no different than like, well, in most cases, when people are searching for something, they're searching to satisfy whatever their fantasy is. And our fantasies, in large, are over sensationalized. They're very embellished relative to our reality. Even when we manifest that house we want is limitless. We might get something close, but our imagination always outweighs what the reality is. So when we start looking for these things, and when porns are made, they're made to create, I mean, to satisfy those type of fantasies. So they're extremely over the top. You might have 15 women in a room with one man, or vice versa, things like that. That's not common in life. So when we watch those things, I think our minds become conditioned to responding to that. So if every time I go watching porn, I search orgy and there's one man and a bunch of women, and my body has been conditioned to respond to that. Now, in a real life situation, when just one person walks in the room, my spouse, my body's saying, "Where's the other five women?" So now a person would find themselves having to close their eyes and kind of disassociate, put themselves in that situation that's on the porn in order for them to enjoy the person in front of them. So there's no connection to the person who's in front of them except for the physical connection. At that point, you're just using somebody else's body to help you masturbate. You know what I mean? They're just replacing your hand. They're your new hand. Um, so as it pertains to people, I think it disconnects you from the reality, and you're always fishing for the high that you feel whenever that fantasy is being satisfied.
Because you want to try to make it a reality.
Yeah, you want to try to make it a reality. Another hazard associated with that is there's uh there's hazardous fetishes, right? Like if you go on a porn site, you can search rape, and they're going to show reenactments of rape. And just like Amazon, if I'm on Amazon and I see something I want, but for whatever reason, I don't have the resources to get it at the time, I put that thing in my wish list. And as soon as I get the resources, I go buy that thing. So if I'm searching rape and I'm searching rape, I'm pretty much putting rape in my wish list in the absence of really having the opportunity to do it. But as soon as the opportunity in real life presents itself, it's a great chance that that person is now going to satisfy that fantasy in real life. So whenever they have categories like that, I think it feeds into where it can create the desire for people to want to behave in that way. And you can search something like rape out of just pure disbelief that it's there. So this can't be a category, and then you search it out of pure disbelief, and then when you see it, it has a physiological impact that you didn't expect it to have. You end up being turned on by something that you just had a curiosity about, and before you know it, you're now into something that you probably thought you detested 5 minutes ago. So to get back to your original question, I think those ways or and how it impacts other people. And you also mentioned, I don't want to jump the gun, but you also mentioned relationships and how it can be the catalyst to adultery. I can address that
Would love
if you
to.
like.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was you didn't jump the gun because it's
Okay.
all intertwined. It's definitely
Okay. I think it can do a couple things. It can create inefficiencies within a feeling of inefficiency within the person that you're with, right? Especially say you have a woman who goes on a computer and she sees your search history, and then she clicks on your search history, and what you have been searching historically, those people don't look like what she looks like. Maybe they have body features that don't look like hers. They're either larger or smaller, and this is what you're consistently searching. It makes them feel like, okay, this is what that person likes, so it can create a feeling of inefficiency within the other person. And another thing is when you start exploring these fantasies, and maybe the person you with aren't into doing some of the things that you're fantasizing about. So now you go elsewhere to search for that fantasy. And if you never reach that level of high that you feel when you're watching it, you'll find yourself constantly out there searching for that fantasy because the person who you with aren't into whatever it is that you're searching for in there. So I think that's where the adultery kicks in. There was a friend of mine who contacted me, and she said, "Hey, my husband is addicted to this, and I'm thinking I may even lose my family because of it, because he don't pay me attention. He's more into that, and him and I aren't intimate, but he's intimate alone, but not with me." And I also know of instances where there's men who had to actually watch it on their phone while they were sexually engaged with a woman in order for them to be able to perform.
yeah. That's when you know it's a problem. When you have to watch it in order to perform to even get an erection. I've talked to men who actually didn't have any sensation from a woman; they had to just self please. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you do know that's not normal, right?
Right,
So
right,
and sometimes you don't even realize something is not normal when you please yourself all the time.
right,
Nobody else can actually have the ability to do that for you, and so you can
right,
lose that in relationships, in marriages, because it's really a hard struggle to try. You're almost competing. It's
right.
almost a competition with somebody that's fictional that they would never ever have opportunity to be
Yeah,
with.
you're never gonna be greater than my imagination. It's
Right.
just humanly impossible because my imagination is limitless. So you're never going to be greater than my imagination. So it's extremely unfair to whoever it is who has to compete with that.
Compete with imagination. For some couples, pornography works, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes couples want to watch it to get some ideas, to bring something new into the bedroom. What do you think about that? What do you think about using it for enhancement?
I think I'm not a person who's against, just absolutely against pornography. And there's people who are. And I think a lot of times when you find somebody who's absolutely against it, it's attached to other reasons, maybe religion or something like that.
Mhm.
I think it's just like anything else, right? Like water. Water is essential for life. You need water in order to live. But if you stick your head in some water and you don't pull it up and too much gets in your nose, you're probably going to drown. So even something that's essential, if you use it in excess, it's going to kill you. So I think the same thing with pornography, right? I think when you have couples who use it in a controlled manner, I turn this on when I'm with you, you turn it on when you're with me. We have a mutual category that we both enjoy to watch. The category doesn't deteriorate who we are innately at all to any extent. It's kind of like a jump start. And then 10 seconds after it start, we don't forgot his own. We off on our own. You know what I mean? I think that if that works for them. And I wouldn't discourage it. I just think that it's healthy to be able to do everything in moderation. I think the hazard with porn though is um whether or not you can do it in moderation sometimes is beyond your own control. That's like saying I'm gonna smoke crack in moderation. That don't work for everybody. You got some functional crackheads, but for the most part, you know what I mean? Like Richard Pryor said, he said, my friend's been doing it for 20 years. They're not addicted. It's like, well, what? If they've been doing it for 20 years, then clearly
that's their thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
So for me, just my personal, because I'm asking you for your personal, I've never really been a porn person. And the reason being, I think it's a waste of time. I don't see the purpose of sitting there watching other people perform when you should already have started. So logically, and I think a lot, I'm very analytical and I know that. But logically, I could never wrap my head around it because I felt like it was a waste of time. Like, that's not even me. And that's not you. So who cares? Like, so I just never was able to wrap my head around it. And I never discourage other people that it's for them. It just wasn't for me. I just didn't. And nor did I think it was realistic. Like the storylines was stupid to me. Like they had this little skit they're playing out. That was just dumb to me.
I think that's part of creating that fantasy, right? When you order a pizza and the pizza guy shows up, and when you open the pizza box, it's a hole in the bottom of the box, and now his penis. Those things that aren't going to happen, but those are the things that other people have to compete with. Now you have people going back home saying, "Hey, do you mind being the pizza person?" And they're asking for somebody else to recreate those fantasies. So, those storylines aren't going to make sense to a person who's looking for anything that's realistic. They're trying to they're trying to create these fantasies.
Okay. So I think I overthink them. I'm like, this is dumb. Like we get to the pool and you jump in the pool and then they're screaming and hollering and running around the pool. It just never worked for me. And I guess because I overthink it. And so I'm just, it's not my thing. But I never told anybody else that shouldn't be their thing. Like I know some couples that they love pornography, they love acting out, they love the role playing. They love if they want to bring in other couples. And I think that's healthy if you do it in moderation and you're in agreement. Right. But when one person in the relationship is saying, I don't enjoy this, I don't like it, I feel like you pay more attention to the porn than you do to me, then that's a problem. I think that's when it becomes unhealthy in a relationship, when there's a complaint and you don't listen. You keep saying, oh, well, let's just keep trying it. And that person is telling you, I do not enjoy this. This is not for me. I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
That it's not for them. And not to step outside of your relationship or your marriage and try to make a fantasy come true on something that you saw on a movie. So that has always been my perspective of it.
Yeah, it can very well be considered as cheating, even if you don't go out and explore it with another person. You know what I mean? If there's a sexual gratification that's coming from somewhere outside of your significant other and it's replacing your significant other, then it can very well is subjective, but it can very well be viewed as cheating. The problem that I had is I became conditioned, and there was a point in time where I used to watch videos that only included oral sex. This is a VHS, a 4-hour long VHS, and the only thing it shows is men who are receiving oral sex. There's no penetration or nothing. And it got to the point to where I couldn't perform unless the person performed oral sex first. If they didn't, there was nothing going on because my body had to have it because that's what I was conditioned to watch. So that was one of the issues that it created with me. Aside from it made me extremely counterproductive. There was a point in time where I was taking online courses And I would be taking an online course, and it's like subconsciously, before I know it, I'm on a porn site. And when you watch this porn site every day and you search the same category every day, the thumbnails or the videos on that, you start to, they're all familiar. You don't seen them all. You know what I mean? So
Right.
now you're actually 45 minutes or an hour in just searching for a 60-second thumbnail. And then you find one after an hour, and it takes you 2 3 minutes in order to do what you got to do, and now you're trying to go back to what you were working on before. And just imagine that over the course of a week, how much time has been taken away from what you're working towards because you're being pulled by this stronghold. So it affects relationships, it affects productivity as it pertains to professionalism, education. Is it affects a lot.
I can see that. Elizabeth said she really appreciates your transparency with this subject.
Oh, no problem at all. Appreciate you taking the time to watch.
Yeah, it's not that easy. And Tanika said, thank you for sharing your story. You are brave, amazing, smart, and talented. I pray your story help others battling addictions to overcome their addictions.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I hope so as well. Because it's real. This is a real topic that happens to a lot of people, and
Right.
definitely in relationships. So for you, how do you see yourself now that you have decided to stop? Do you see yourself more productive or in
Yeah,
healthier
absolutely.
relationships?
The complete opposite of all of the second and third, the negative second, third effects that I mentioned. So of course, I'm not as distracted, right? I can actually focus on something and focus on something as it pertains to a relationship or having an intimacy with somebody else. I'm not limited to my body only responding to a certain thing because I've conditioned my mind to only, the person isn't a category for me. You know what I mean? When you're always searching for a category, you're expecting that person you're with to be that category. So now I'm able to accept the person for who they are. And as long as I'm into that person, I can respond accordingly versus me expecting them to be who I search. Um,
That's deep.
so, right.
I never thought about that I would be in a category, right? So I would meet a guy and if he has a porn addiction, he's sizing me up based on his categories.
You know my search category. Yeah, right.
But isn't that's something to really think about? Search category.
Absolutely. Yes, that's absolutely something to think about. And it just probably hadn't been worded that way, but that's exactly what it is. You're looking
That's
for
what
your
it
search
is.
category.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if the
But
person's
it's
not your
underneath
search
that.
category, then and these search categories are serious because everything when you are affixed on a certain fantasy, everything doesn't satisfy you. You can be on a porn site that's full of porn, and you can see something else from another category, and it will do zero for you. And then you punch in your category, and those videos pop up, and you now it's working for you. So when you get locked in on a category, there's a lot that's ineligible. So if you're with a person that's not that category, you got to disassociate. And we normally associate disassociation with with trauma, right? With a coping mechanism for trauma. We're dealing with something, and we don't have a way to physically get out of there, so we're going to mentally leave. But it also happens in porn as well when you have a now your partner having sex with your partner becomes a responsibility. It becomes something you're doing for them. It becomes a task because your own personal satisfaction has come from whatever you're doing with these videos. But now I know I have an obligation to be present over here as well. How do I fulfill that obligation when I'm not physically in it because this person isn't my search category? I got to disassociate and I got to mentally go to my search category in order for this person to be there. So yeah, that's tough.
That's real tough. I had a case where we had a young lady that, and it wasn't my personal case, it was a case. Let me say that because I don't want anybody to think that I'm sharing private information. But it was a case where she was looking at porn with her father who was molesting her, right? It was incest. And so as an adult, she always watched porn. Like that was her thing. And she would watch porn with little girls or little boys. But it stemmed from her father, and she never even realized that it was wrong
Mm.
until after she got in counseling to try to work on some trauma, in her adult life. And that's where it came from. It was watching porn at a very young age, and it was used as part of molestation. And so I've
Mm.
seen that happen to a lot of young kids where it affects them at an early age. And then now we have a problem with it. Either I don't want to do anything with pornography or I'm addicted to it. So there's extremes as relates to pornography and trauma. And I think it's important that we address that and understand it, because there's people out here that is dealing with it and not understanding where it comes from.
Right.
Not understanding that it's trauma related, it's attached to that. And why am I having this hard time? Well, you got to look at your trauma in order to maybe detach, like you were saying. It's trauma bonding in a form of pornography. And I want people to understand that so that they talk to somebody, they can actually get some help, right? And we know what to
Right.
tell the person that's going through it, not from a mean, judgmental standpoint, but from a place of love. I think that's important.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being some kind of like a forcing. Something is happening to me, and I haven't thought about this until you said it. Maybe I'm a child and something is happening to me, and I don't feel that comfortable with it. But if I go on a porn site and I watch it happening to other kids and I watch the enjoyment they get, maybe it can convince me that this can be enjoyable. I mean, this can be something I can enjoy. So I'm living vicariously through this situation. And then the flip side to that, and this is one of the things that was critical to me stopping. When I learned that some of those videos were people that were being trafficked, then I felt like I was supporting trafficking. So that was really convicting for me. So that was a natural conviction, but then I had to also create a conviction in order for me to stop. So it was two part the way I was able to stop. One, I would wake up every morning, and the first thing I would do in the morning, I would promise God that I wouldn't masturbate. So now it felt extremely convicting to do it because I can't go in the bathroom and do it like he ain't gonna see me if I go in here. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I had to create a level of authority or a level of conviction that made me feel bad about it. And then the second part, that there was a natural conviction when I found out some of these videos where these people look like they are willingly participating are actually people who are being trafficked. So now I'm watching these videos thinking like, am I watching a rape scene and not knowing? And that helped me to stop. Didn't make it easy because there was like literal withdrawals, right? Like you have people who are on drugs. I've heard about heroin addicts who try to kick the habit, and the withdrawals kill them. So they actually died trying to quit. They would have lived longer if they would have kept using heroin, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And with the pornography, I'm not comparing it to heroin, but with the pornography, there was times where I would stop and I wouldn't do it. And I would have, what people call blue ball. I would have this pain like in my stomach because I hadn't masturbated. And now I would have to masturbate just so the pain can go away. You know what I mean? So it's like now the withdrawal from it is so intense that I have to explore the thing that I'm trying to get away from in order to soothe the withdrawal. So it still wasn't hard to stop, but psychologically what helped me to pull away from it is those two things, that natural conviction and then that conviction I created.
I think that's important to figure out what's going to make you stop.
Hmm.
And people don't want to think about the people that are in the videos, that they are human, they are lives, and a lot of times it really is forced. It's forced
Hmm.
for your enjoyment, but sometimes they're not being paid. It's not everybody's not being paid in the porn industry.
Or
Right?
volunteering. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are not, and sometimes those are consensual videos that have been uploaded.
Hmm.
With a lot of that with Pornhub, and where people have uploaded videos of consensual sex that was not for other people to see.
And yeah, and the other partner doesn't know it's up there.
Nope, nope.
There was I've heard that before with married couples who one of the partners learned that there was a video online, and when that partner went back and looked into it, it had been there for like 4 years.
And no clue. So,
Yeah.
and that's to me is just a violation, and it's
Hmm.
hard for us to get it down. A lot of states do not have laws and regulation against it, and so it's hard for us to really battle to get those type of pornography down because it
Right.
looks like it's consensual, which sucks
Right.
because it's not. Um, Elizabeth said that porn can be used to groom kids. It most definitely can, Elizabeth, and I want
Hmm.
parents to know that That's why we're talking about this. This is not a topic for children to just listen to. It's for one where the parents are actually starting the discussion and ask them, do they understand or know what it is? So I think that it's important that you recognize that children start as early as 12 on the norm, but it could be earlier than that. So Princess said, pornography ruins marriages and changes someone's personality. A lot of men don't think it is adultery, but it is. Thank you for your transparency. Pornography has no emotional connection nor performance accountability. Okay. Do you think it has performance accountability or an emotional connection?
An emotional, do I think porn have an emotional connection?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it definitely has an emotional connection. It's it's hard, it's very hard to explain. I mean, anything that alters the way involuntary alters the way you respond to something, I have to look at that as an emotional connection. Even if I want to be turned on by this thing, my body is not allowing me to do it because my body is conditioned to that. I got to look at that as some form of an emotional connection. Now, what do you mean by performance accountability?
Okay. Princess, what do you mean about performance accountability? She also said it's a great revelation in searching for your type. You compare your mate to what you want in porn.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of shocked me. I understood it when you said it. I was like, wow, it's a category, it's a type, and
Right.
you're looking for that. You're trying to compare the two. So that's very interesting for us to really look at it from a different perspective. And I
Right.
thank you for that because I think you're opening up a lot of people's eyes. And I'm like, man, I can't compete with something that's on TV. And I don't
Okay.
understand how men could compete because I've seen men with huge penises, and
Mhm.
I don't even see how you can even mentally compete with that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, everything I'm saying, I believe it goes both ways. There's things that women search for that the person who they're with don't possess.
Right.
And maybe it's just the visual. Like I've heard a lot of women say that the visual of these super large penises is way more appealing than actually dealing with it in person, right? So, but the visual will still make that person you with subconscious or insecure when they know that's what you want to see and that's not what I have. And men, we our bodies respond to our mind. So if we're nervous, if we're feeling insecure, all these things can hinder our ability to obtain a erection. So if I've been made aware that my partner is looking for something that I don't have, next time my partner come touch me, my body might not respond because of insecurity.
Yeah. You might have a search history
Right,
and realize what your wife or your girlfriend is
right.
searching for, and that is not you. So I can see it goes both ways, where it's really difficult to maintain that.
Yeah.
Princess also said some men develop porn addictions because of their inability to perform because of health reasons and medications. What do you think about that? That they're using porn for medical reasons.
I hadn't, me personally, I don't have an experience with that. I don't have a lot of information about it. That is something I was curious about because I always felt like if your body is not doing something because of medical reasons, then nothing will make you respond, whether it's porn, another person, because medical reasons are prohibiting you. So if you say that you have a medical reason to why you're not getting an erection, then how does porn cure that?
Okay.
And that's like
I've
me
heard
saying,
men say that too. So do you think they're using it as an excuse?
I don't want to say it's an excuse. I just want to say I'm not aware. I don't know how that works.
You know how that
Because
works.
yeah, like if I'm blind, if medically I can't see, right? A beautiful image isn't going to change my sight. I can't see, but if you put a beautiful image in front of me, I can see that. Now, if I can't see, I can't see. So if I apply that same logic to that, then I don't understand how something fixes that medical condition. Like medical conditions aren't selective to person. If I have Alzheimer's, I ain't remembering nobody. It ain't like, well, I have Alzheimer's, but because I love you, I can remember you. No, it's not. So I don't know anything about it. I don't have the background to speak on that.
I think that's a good perspective, though. You gave us a different perspective of how you see it from a medical perspective, biologically,
Right.
right? Even though it work.
My mother's calling my cell phone. I'm wondering if she's looking at this. I'm not picking it up.
That might be something funny. Oh, she'd be like, so you was watching porn and you told everybody I didn't know that you watch porn. So the answer to the question, to rephrase about performance accountability, she said, what I mean about performance accountability is that no one can say you did not do something right nor stamina. I get it. So what she's saying is, if I'm using pornography, it's not like I'm pleasing somebody. Can't nobody say that I didn't satisfy them, I didn't please them.
Okay,
I
I
got my own
absolutely get it. Yeah, there's no barometer to meet, because as long as you get what you're getting out of it, then yeah, that's great point. I never thought about that, but now that she said it and you explained it,
Mhm.
I think that's absolutely valid. So I could see how somebody who's insecure can resort to it because there's no judgment there.
And no failure.
Yeah,
So I might not fail with somebody, just me masturbating and watching
right.
video, but I may fail with an actual human,
In
right?
person, yeah, great point.
Yeah. So I could see performance accountability, a lack thereof.
Hmm.
So you don't have to have it. But
Right.
I think that sometimes we don't always look at things the same. And that's why I love talking to opposite sexes, different races, male, females. Is we look at life differently. We look at sex differently and how we attach to relationships and what we use in our relationships. But what I have found is that people think that others don't have experiences. Have you ever noticed when, let me give you an example. Like you meet a minister, right? And you think the minister never had sex. People have sex. So people will look like, oh, they're not having sex, they don't have sexual problems, and they never want to talk about the topic. I
Hmm.
don't understand how we could have sex in our natural daily lives, most people daily, some people not, and we don't discuss it. It's
Yeah.
taboo, you know.
Yeah, it's become taboo, and we've allowed it to remain taboo. The problem with that is sex is one of the most enjoyable and sought out activities in the world. The second next is probably like French fries or something, but sex is the most sought out activity in the world. So to believe that people aren't indulging in porn is crazy, right? And I think it's just one of those things to where a problem isn't real until it's acknowledged. So when you don't acknowledge, it don't become real until it's acknowledged. So when nobody is saying that they have this problem, then the people who are admitting they have it look like an anomaly. Well, we aren't the anomaly. We're just the only ones that's admitting it. Like you said, 47% of households deal with this. That number is probably 67%.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm. It's higher. I
yeah,
think that it's higher than that, but people don't report it. People
right.
do not report it. For you and your advocacy work, I want to talk about that. I think that's very important. And we tried to actually have this on a larger platform and it was denied. So
Right.
I want to look at it from an advocate standpoint. How important is talking about pornography and addictions? What's the place of it in advocacy?
I think it it definitely has a place. I think it has to be talked about because we're connecting the dots. We talk about these other things. We talk about sexual assault. Well, the catalyst for sexual assault can be pornography. We talk about trafficking. Well, we can be subconsciously supporting trafficking by pornography. So if we're trying to mitigate these issues, we have to find everything that's contributing to the issues in order for us to mitigate it. So when we're leaving out pornography, we're leaving out one of the things that contribute to these other issues. So we'll never be able to mitigate it because we're leaving out that piece. So if something's broke, you got to find everything that's breaking it and then fix those things. And porn is breaking a lot of these things. So if we don't talk about it, then we're never going to really get to the root of these things the way we want to.
Right. And it takes an advocate that think outside of the box to really accept this topic. I think that's
Right.
important. I've taught it, but it's not taught often. And especially in the military, we know that there's a high rate of pornography use in the military, but they do not talk about addiction to pornography. So
Right.
I think it's important that we speak on it and talk about it in our communities and talk about it with our kids because it's important. If somebody wanted to contact you to come out to your organization, to do poetry, how can they reach you?
Everything is Obbie West, OBBIEWEST. So my website is obbiewest.com. LinkedIn is Obbie West. Instagram is Obbie West. And I have and the email address is info@obbiewest. And I have a secondary email, which is spoken advocacy. Instead of spoken word for the poetry, it's spokenadvocacy.com. So through any of those mediums is best. And it was one thing that I wanted to add to domestic violence as well. I think whenever poetry has interrupted the connection between two people, and now you have one person that's voicing their problem with the relationship, that can create defensiveness, that can create verbal abuse, that can create domestic violence. So porn can be the root of a lot of stuff that we don't realize. And if we want to fix those things, we got to be able to talk about everything that can contribute to it. But back to your question, those
I
are the
love
ways to be contacted.
I love that. It's important that we address it because it happens in so much trauma related. Um, the connection is real. We see it all the time. All the time. I was looking at some research that said that 79% of offenders use porn, rape offenders. So if
Mhm.
that many people, and I'm not saying that when you watch pornography that you commit rape, but what I can tell you is that there's a very high rate of individuals who have watched porn and used it in their lives and they commit rape. So we have
Mhm.
to talk about it. We have to address it and try to figure out what's the connection there and why there's such a large usage in rape and pornography. What's that connection there? So
Yeah.
I love that you talk about it. And I look forward to organizations bringing you out and listening to your poems and talking and having the conversation and being able for a man to come forward and say, hey, this what's going on with me. Is this going on with you? I'm open. I'm transparent about it. So I'm hoping that that is what take place after the show is that people really reach out and give you a platform to talk about it because it's serious and it's happening a lot. One thing I did want to give everybody was a website that you can go to for more information. Rewardfoundation.org has a very I don't want to say explicit, a very complete resource list of information that you could use, free counseling. It's important that you get counseling and get out here and talk about it and find resources for you, for your children, for your family members, so that people don't feel condemned, that there's resources and that they're not alone. You know, they're not condemned, they're not alone, that this happens to a lot of people and that you can get help. And that's rewardfoundation.org. I like the website. And you can also reach out to us at hushnomore.org and I'll connect you with even more resources to help you find information because it happens to a lot of people. And we're in a non judgment zone here. Like, I talk about everything, I have no problem discussing it. So, Obi, before we get out of here, I wanted to know was there anything else that you want to bring up? I love that you added on about domestic violence.
Yeah, just be open minded, be willing to address the hard topics. Again, these problems aren't really problems until they're acknowledged. And help sources are developed based on problems that have been mentioned out loud. So if we want to start getting help sources about stuff like this, the world has to know that it's a problem before they put the resources together. And just understand it's a stronghold. It's really a stronghold. There was periods of time where I actually stopped and I didn't do it for like months. And then I felt like, okay, I got control of this now. And then I watched it one time and the cycle started over for the next 5 years because I watched it one time after 6 months. So just understand it's a stronghold and just take it serious. And the people who are on the line, thank you for taking the topic serious and taking the time to watch it.
I think it is a serious topic. And so for you, you're just not going to watch porn anymore. You realize that's
um,
something for you.
I would be lying if I said that I just never clicked on it again since that time frame. Um, but yeah, it's not for the most part. No, it's not. It's scary. It's scary when you know that you can easily be snatched right back into it.
Mhm.
So, has there been a urge? Yeah, absolutely. Um, but knowing what could potentially happen just from satisfying that urge one time has been enough for me to say, "Nah, I'm cool."
Well, that's pretty good because I know, like, with alcohol, I've been in that cycle too, where I thought I could have just one drink, one glass of wine, two drinks. The next thing I know, I'm back at a bottle. So I
Mhm.
have decided that I'm just done because I can't control it, right?
Yeah,
So I think that it is important to know yourself.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
when you can try something again and when you can't, when you just have to say no. So like for me, alcohol is a no too.
Right,
So I can't dip in and out.
right.
There's no dipping in and out for me. Elizabeth said, thank you so much to me and to you for having an open discussion on this topic. You're welcome,
Absolutely.
Elizabeth. She's an amazing advocate as well. And so I think it's important that advocates take this topic seriously.
Right.
And Princess said, thank you for your time. And you have helped open her eyes on some things as well.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate her
You
feedback.
like my eyes too. And what was funny, we were in a classroom and I was teaching the topic, and you were like a subject matter expert in the audience. And I said, we got to teach this class together because
Yeah,
you had so much input, and I don't have that experience. So I have the book knowledge, right, and the research part of it, but not the personal experience.
yeah, the
So,
hands on, no pun.
yeah, and nor do I want to have a hands-on problem. Like I got enough
Right,
stuff going on in my life.
right,
I don't need another addiction.
right, right.
So I'm like, yeah, I don't need to be the SME on pornography, but I would love to talk about the topic. And so
Right.
I thank you and I honor you in this moment for sharing and for being so truthful. And I hope that it encourages other people to get the help that they need to address it, to at least look at it and say, do I got a problem with this? Or maybe I'm good. You might be good, and that's okay. But if you're not, it's help out here. And don't ignore that our children are dealing with this as well. You know, our children are dealing with this. And they have cell phones, and pornography is free now. So, did you ever? Okay, I got one more question. Did you ever pay for pornography? Did you pay for it?
No, it was always well, yeah, yeah, I did. Back when the VHSs was relevant, I would rent VHSs,
Okay.
which was painful. I was rent VHSs, but then since the evolution of cell phones, it's just too accessible. And even with that, and excuse me if it's getting dark, I'm dependent on natural light, and I didn't even consider that
You're
natural
fine.
light doesn't last all day. But even with it being free and with it being accessible, I was looking at some statistics, and I think online services are still bringing in like $7 billion a year on a free product. So when you still got $7 billion of revenue coming in on something that is free, that thing is serious.
That's serious. And how are they
Yeah.
making money? Just advertisements?
Well, you have advertisements,
Hmm.
and then you have people who may show um, a snippet of something, and if you want to see the whole thing, pay for this. And then
Oh,
whatever that website is may get a percentage of that. So you have people who have figured out how to make a living off of it. And then even with like OnlyFans, right? You have people who they look like this is a safe way to, if I was an exotic dancer, now I don't have to worry about going to the club, somebody following me home, somebody fondling me. I can just turn on my computer, be in the privacy of my home. No one knows where I live. I can do everything that I need to do. And then when I'm done, I can just turn off the camera and then the money just comes directly to my account. So it's become an entrepreneurial thing. People are making a living feeding their kids off of it now. So yeah, it's bananas.
it has evolved. It has
Absolutely.
evolved. I
Absolutely.
remember my cousins used to look at little magazines, so
Mhm.
that was foreign to them when they would look at the
Right.
women in a bra and panties.
Right.
They would get excited
I'm
about
glad they never made them. I'm glad they never made them magazines in like pop up or scratch and sniff or something like that.
because you'd have been trying to scratch and sniff the
You know what I
magazine.
mean? That would have been bad. That would have been horrible.
Yeah, my cousins used to love just magazines, so I can imagine
Yeah.
what they did with porn. So, and they'd probably kill me if I even told.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Obi.
Problem
Did
at
you
all.
have anything else that you wanted to share with us before we get out of here?
I just thank you. Thank you for creating a platform and creating a space to talk about this. It's very necessary. So I tip my hat to you.
All right. You have heard from the amazing Obbie West. He is definitely an amazing advocate and poet. He does the most amazing spoken word um, that I have heard because it always resonates with my heart and different things that I go through with my life. And so follow him on social media, all social media platforms. It's Obbie West. You can also go to his website if you would like for him to come out to one of your events. He is pretty cool. And you can follow him for when he comes to a city near you and perform. So I'm waiting for you to come back to Charlotte, North Carolina, because I really want to see you live again because I think that you are a phenomenal spoken word artist, and I thank you for sharing your gift with us from a perspective of how we can heal, how we can see things from a different perspective, and how people live every day. And that's what your poetry does for us. So thank you for that.
Thank
Hush
you.
No More turned 3 years old on February the 12th. And so we are celebrating this Sunday. We are having a paint party. So if you are in Columbia, South Carolina, we would love for you to come celebrate with us. We have food, we have wine, we have door prizes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come celebrate with us. And then on April 2nd, we will be kicking off Sexual Assault Awareness Month with a concealed weapon permit class. So if you want to learn how to use a weapon, join us on April the 2nd because it is important that you protect yourself, but know how to protect yourself legally. So we'll be doing that. And then April the 30th, during Crime Victims Week, we are doing Stomp Out Crime. So we will have a step show, a lot of resources in the community. People are coming out to Benedict College football stadium. We're going to be out there. Kids are welcome, resources, food, vendors, a whole day of fun. And just so that you can find out what's going on in your community, right? What laws applies, what's victim crime compensation, how can you find funding for you and your family after you have been a victim of a crime. That is what you'll be receiving that day, and you can find all of that on our website or on our Facebook page. And we want you to come out tomorrow. Tomorrow will be February 16th. India Munez, she is the author of 101 Dating Red Flags. She is giving a free copy of her book. This month is teen dating violence, and we think that if you start looking at the red flags ahead of time, you will not have the problem. So if you are dating, if you know somebody that's dating, download the free Kindle version tomorrow. It's absolutely free. It's called 101 Dating Red Flags. I will put it in the comments as well. And the author is India Munez. And hopefully she'll come on the show and talk about it because there's some flags when we be dating, that people are crazy ahead of time that we just ignore. And so we want to talk about that, especially during this month. Talk to your children about teen dating violence. It is a serious problem that has happened all over the country, all over the world. Our kids are being abused and we don't talk about it. So I thank you. Thank you. So thank you all for joining us. Elizabeth, thank you for congratulating us on our 3 years. Thank you, Keever. I am excited because Hush No More is a lot of work, but I absolutely love what I do. And I'm thankful for all of you. You are who makes it special. I love working with survivors. And if there's anything that we can do, free counseling, or just to have somebody to talk to, reach out to us because we are always available. Peace and blessings to you all. Thank you once again, Obbie, for just being amazing and spending your time with me today. All right. Y'all have a good one.